Hey everyone, I want to give you guys an update on this Deer Creek Stealth Blast, okay, on this AR-47. So from the first day that I was testing it out, because now it's like 2 days later, I did notice that I was getting the occasional jam, okay, which I never had before I put the Stealth Blast on here. And it seemed like the bolt wasn't coming back far enough. So it almost seemed like the pressure in the system had dropped, which is kind of weird because normally when you put like if you put a suppressor on here, that normally increases the pressure. So I thought it was odd that this would have decreased the pressure. And what I did, the first thing I did is I cleaned the gun. Other thing I did is I looked at the gas block here for signs of it moving or signs of it twisting, which I didn't see, okay? So what I did is I took out one of the little weights from inside the buffer weight. So I took the buffer weight apart, and I took one of these guys out, and I've been shooting it today, and I have not had any jams since I removed one of the buffer weights. So it seemed like it needed a slightly lighter buffer weight. So it was like a 3.1 ounce, and by removing this, I think it came down to like a 2.4 ounce buffer weight, which is, it's very interesting. And like I said, I haven't had any problems. Before I installed the Deer Creek Stealth Blast, I mean, it was gassed very low, so it was pretty much ejecting at 4 o'clock. So it was nice because it had really minimal recoil and also minimal noise. So it seemed like it was right at that edge where any decrease beyond that would jam up the gun. So now again, there might be other things going on here, right? There might be something else. When I cleaned the gun, I did notice that the bolt was really tight inside of the bolt carrier. And after I cleaned it, it got better. Okay, so there was definitely like some resistance there from that. So that I cleaned that. That seems like it's normal now. And I still had the jam, right? And it was giving me a lock back. It was like in the middle of a 5-round string, I would get one that just like the bolts didn't seem to come back all the way and it didn't feed it right. But since I took out one of these buffer weights and I went from a 3.1 ounce buffer weight to a 2.4, I'm not having a problem. Okay, so I'll fire a bunch of rounds. I'll fire it I'll fire it from this angle here, so you should be able to see the direction of the ejection. So I'll fire in this direction. Actually, let me fire it this way here, so I'm right in front of the camera. Yeah, so that's like solid 4 o'clock. That was a little higher up. That was almost at like 3 o'clock. Yeah, that landed in almost the same spot. So, well, it's actually, no, 3 o'clock's there. It's going at like 3:30 almost. 4 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Now I am shooting Tula. Tula 7.62x3.9 tends to be a little less consistent. The Wolf tends to be a little bit more consistent. So the shift that we're seeing now between it going from like 3 o'clock to 3:30 to 4 o'clock, I think that's ammunition. Okay, so that's where that inconsistency is coming from. But before I took out the buffer weight and went from 3.1 to 2.4, it was doing it both with Tula and Wolf. Okay, it was not doing. I never had this problem when I just had the flash hider on here. So it's very interesting how that's working out. Why would the flash hider, why would taking out the flash hider and putting the stealth blast on here, why would that decrease the energy that's in the system, or the gas that's in the system? I don't know, but it seems to be working fine now. Now, notice that because I'm gonna keep this on here for a while. If I notice that I start having this problem, I don't know, a couple of weeks down the road, that's probably an indication that the gas block might be moving. It might be. I mean, I can't see it. The screws seem pretty tight. I checked the roll pin where the gas goes, where the tube attaches to the gas block. That seems like it's fine. And usually if it slips out, you can see on the gas tube itself, you'll see that, you know, there's a mark there. I don't see any of that. So for now, it seems that the difference that I'm seeing is solely related to putting the Deer Creek Stealth Blast on here. And it had the result of, for whatever reason, I don't fully understand, it decreased the gas that was in this carbine length gas system. And by removing one of these weights here, we're going from 3.1 to 2.4 ounce buffer weight, it seems to have fixed the problem. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. Talk to you all soon. Hey everyone, I slept a little bit on this issue that I had yesterday where I put this shielded muzzle brake on this AR-47. You know, I was getting occasional jams where, you know, prior to that, the gun was working pretty flawless, right, as far as its operation, okay? So, like, normally when you put, like, a suppressor on the gas gun, it puts more gas into the system, okay? And it also acts as a muzzle brake, okay? They also reduce the recoil a bit. So, in this case, we've got a shielded muzzle brake, which it doesn't it doesn't add more gas to the system the same way a suppressor does, but it does reduce the recoil, okay? So if you think about how this gun operates, right? Yeah, you know, when the bullet goes out, the gas comes up the gas tube, you guys see right there, and it pushes on the bolt carrier and moves it back. But there's also a blowback element to the system, right? Because if you look at a direct blowback, you know, like 9mm PCC, or a like a 22, right, which is direct blowback, right? Those don't operate on gas. Those are like just direct blowback, right? That just the bullet going out the barrel pushes back on the case, and that's pushing back on the bolt and the bolt carrier, right? So I think that that's an element that's also in play here, and by putting the muzzle brake, right, even though it's shielded, the muzzle brake on here, it reduced some of the pushback, the direct blowback push on the bolt carrier and bolt here. And because I was running this like at, you know, like at the very low end of gas, right? And it was working fine. But when I added that muzzle brake, all of a sudden it dropped it to a level where it just wasn't reliable. And by going to the lighter buffer weight, it fixed it. Okay, so that's the only thing I think I can think of, all right? Because something changed here, okay? And it changed as soon as I put the shielded muzzle brake on it. It was working fine before I did that, all right? It was working fine, but then when I put it on there, all of a sudden I'm short stroking, right? And I'm having jams because of that. So the only thing, and I cleaned the gun, right, just to eliminate that. I'm using the same ammunition, okay? So the only thing left is, you know, that the shielded muzzle brake is the thing that's an issue here. So it's not changing the amount of gas that's going into the system, right? I checked that and make sure that the gas block and the gas tube didn't move. So I've got the same amount of gas coming into the system. So the only thing that's left is the muzzle brake is reducing the blowback element of this, which is pushing on the bolt and bolt carrier. And that's the reason why I had to go to a lighter buffer weight in order to get this back to a level where it's operating reliably. So let me know what you guys think, if that makes sense. I'll talk to y'all soon. And one more thing. One of the tests I forgot to do is I wanted to test how the Deer Creek Stealth Blast, how tolerable it is with just the ear cushions. Okay. So when I did this with the 5.56, I mean, it basically was uncomfortable. Okay, I had to use the earmuffs. I don't expect it to be any different with the 7.62x3.9. It is a little bit slower, so I don't know. Let's try it out. So anyway, these things are in my ear. I put them in. Basically, once you put them in, you gotta give them a little time to fully expand. So let's give this a shot. I don't expect I'm gonna like it, but let's try it. That's actually not terrible. that's actually not terrible. It's actually a little bit more comfortable than when I tried it with the 5.56, because that's a much faster bullet. That, you know, the Stealth Blast with the 5.56 was less comfortable. This is not terrible. Like, I can, you know, I could shoot this, which is good because, especially in the summertime, a lot of times I want to be shooting and, you know, maybe I don't want to have the big earmuffs on. Now, one of the things to be aware of is if you're benched or if you're like in a prone position, the sound does bounce up off the ground, and it does tend to be a little bit louder. Okay. Hey, let's also test out the muzzle flash. It's starting to get dark, and the muzzle flash will be, you know, very visible. Even in the daytime, with the sun out, I can usually see the muzzle flash on this. But let's see what it looks like now that the sun's going down a little bit. So anyway, can't wait to see that in the camera.